Hi everyone, welcome to our 10th and final session on our place value unit of learning. Today we are going to be looking at negative numbers again, but instead of looking at negative numbers in the context of temperature, we are going to be looking at negative numbers and money. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you and we can get started. So what you will need a pen or pencil, something to write with, and a sheet of paper to write your answers down on and do your working out. Okay. Warm up today. So you've got your 5 fluent in 5 questions to do, but instead of doing them yourself, what I would like you to do, I've done them, but I've made a couple of mistakes. So I want you to do the working out as normal, but I want you to see if you can identify where I've gone wrong. Okay, so pause the video, give yourself 5 minutes max, like every other day, and see if you can identify the mistakes that I have made. And then we'll go through them in just a second. Okay, answers. So A, 3/8 of 64. So when we are working out a fraction of a number, remember we are dividing by the denominator and multiplying by the numerator. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. Okay, so 64 divided by 8, the numerator would have been 8. And that's what I've done. I've forgotten a step. I've forgotten to multiply by the numerator. So 8 times 3 would have been my answer, which would be 24. Well done if you picked up my mistake there. Okay, so B, 33,422, subtract 24,721. The answer for B was 8,701. I got that one right. Okay, let's look at C, 898 take away 700. That would have been 198. Well done. D, something equals 765 minus 80. Because I'm subtracting 80, I know 765 is going to decrease, get smaller. Okay, so 845 is wrong. I've added on 80 instead. So the answer would have been 685. Okay, and then 27 times 73. I made a mistake there too. Okay, I forgot my placeholder 0. Okay, so the actual answer would have been 1,971. Well done if you managed to spot my 3 mistakes that I made there today. Okay, so moving on to today's learning, we're going to be looking at negative numbers in the context of money. Okay, so I'll do this first question. You'll work through the next couple with me, and then you've got some to try on your own. So Mo has £17.50 in his bank account. Okay, I'm just going to underline the important information as I go. He pays for a jumper which costs £30. How much does he have in his bank account now? Okay, so what I want to identify first is what calculation I need to do. Okay, so I've got £17.50 initially. So £17.50. So he pays for a jumper which costs £30. So I'm going to be subtracting £30 from £17.50. Okay. So what I would suggest using is maybe a number line, unless you can work it out in your head. Okay, so if we start at £17.50, I'm going to try and do this in 2 jumps. Okay, so to jump down to 0, we would use £17.50 out of the 30, okay, because we are subtracting 30, but obviously we're going to end up in negative numbers because we're going to cross that 0 mark. Okay, so we've subtracted £17.50 to get to 0. Okay, so then from 0, we want to know how much we've got left to subtract. Okay, so we've used £17.50 out of the £30. Okay, so what have we got left? We've got £12.50 left to subtract from 0. So we're going to take away another £12.50. So we would end up with Mo having a negative balance of £12.50. So that would have been your answer, minus £12.50. Okay, so let's look at the next question. So we'll work through these ones together. So Brooke loves shopping. Help her calculate her bank balance at the end of each shopping trip. Okay, so let's start with the first one. She starts with £5 and spends £20 on a top. Okay, so if you're using the same method, jump to the 0 and then see how much you've got left to subtract after the 0. So we start at £5. To get to 0, we are taking away 5 to get to 0. We've got, out of £20, we spent £5. We've jumped £5, so we've got £15 left to subtract from her bank balance. Okay, so she will end up with a balance of minus £15. Okay, so that would have been what she ended up with on this shopping trip. So for the next one, she starts with minus £10 and returns a coat costing £100. Okay, so this time she's starting in the negative, but she's returning the coat. So that means she's getting the money back. So do we need to add it on, or do we need to take it away from minus 10? Well done. Yeah, we need to add it on because we are getting more money back. Okay, so minus 10. So to jump up to the 0, we would add on 10. Okay, because there's a difference of 10 between minus 10 and 0. So how much have we got left to add on of the £100? Knowing our number bonds to 100, excellent. We are adding on a further £90. Okay, so at the end of this shopping trip, she would end up in the positive and she would have £90 to spend. Okay, right, so the next one, she buys some trainers costing £80. Okay, she started with £35 in her account. So she's bought trainers that cost £80, but she started with £35 in her account. So I'm going to start with £35 at the beginning of my number line. And she has spent £80. So are we adding it on or taking it away? Lovely, we're taking it away because she spent that. She's got rid of that money. Or she's given away the money. Okay, so to jump to the 0, we would subtract 35. Okay, so how much has she got left to subtract from the £80? So if we take away 30 from 80, we get to 50. And if we take 5 away from 50, you would get to £45. Okay, so she's got £45 left to subtract. So after that shopping trip, she would end up with minus, so negative bank balance again, negative £45. Okay, and then the last one, she starts with minus £40. Okay, she is paid £75 by work. She then spends £20 on lunch. So we've got a 2-step problem here. So we need to do 1 step and then we've got to spend £20 on lunch. Okay, so I'm going to start. So she starts at minus £40 and she is paid £75 by work. So if she's given that money, we are going to be adding it on. Well done. Okay, so we're going to jump up. To get to the 0, we are adding on 40. Okay, so how much have we got left to add on after adding up 40? So what's left from 75? 35. Excellent. Okay, so she would end up with £35 after she's paid. Okay, but then she spends £20 of that on lunch. Okay, so you could do this calculation mentally. What is 35 take away 20? Excellent. She would have £15 left in her bank balance, so she'd end up with a positive bank balance at the end of the day. Okay, lovely. Right, so now you have got 2 questions to have a go at independently. Let's just read through them so we know what we're doing. So the first question says, when counting forwards in tens from any positive 1-digit number, the last digit never changes. Okay. When counting backwards in tens from any positive 1-digit number, the last digit does change. Can you find examples to show this and explain why this happens? Okay. The second question is very similar to what we've just done. It says, for each question below, Andrew has started with £15 in his bank account. Prove your answers to these questions true or false. Okay, so you just need to prove whether these are true or false. Then at the end it says, create a true or false question of your own. So have a go at making your own problem. Okay, so pause me here, have a go at these questions, and then join me in just a second and we will go through the answers together. Okay, so for the answers for the first question, let's look at that first. So when counting forwards in tens from any positive 1-digit number, the last digit never changes. So let's have a go at that first. So let's say we pick the number 3. Okay, if we are counting on, so making a sequence, we're increasing by 10 each time, our number sequence will go 3, 13, 23, 33, and so on. Okay, what we notice there is that the ones digit in each of these numbers do not change. Okay, so the last digit in each number doesn't change, it remains the same when we increase by 10. Okay, so the second part of the question says, when counting backwards in tens from any positive one-digit number, the last digit does change. Can you find examples to show this? Okay, so we're going to start with 3 again, but we're going to look at this on my number line. Okay, so I'm going to start at 3 again, but this time we're counting backwards in 10. Okay, so to get to the 0, we would take away 3. Okay, and then out of 10, we've got 7 more to take away, so we would get to -7. Okay, so you'll notice already by jumping back one lot of 10, we have changed the ones digit from a 3 to a 7, okay? If we then subtracted 10 again from -7, we would get to -17. And then from then on, we would have the ones digit to be a 7. But because it says explain why this happens, because we have jumped over that 0 boundary from positive to negative numbers, and if you'll notice on the number line, it's almost symmetrical, so we start at 0 but increase, we go 1, but down we go -1. Okay, so because we've crossed that boundary, the ones digit has changed, and that would be the same for any digit any one digit number we would start on this side. Okay, so for example, let's say we started on 6, okay, and we're subtracting 10, we would bounce, I'm going to do it underneath, we would bounce down 6 to get to the 0, and then we've got 4 left to take away. So the ones digit would change to a 4 because 6 subtract 10 is -4. Okay, so the ones digit, you'll notice that it still makes your number bond to 10 though. So if we started at 9, without doing the lines, I know that I'm going to get to -1 because 1 plus 9 is 10. Okay, that's a quick way to work it out. Okay, so let's look at the second question. For each question below, Andrew has started with £15 in his bank account. Prove your answers to these questions true or false. So if he spends £15, he will have £0 left. So he started with £15, he spent £15. Yep, that's true. He would have nothing left because he spent everything he's got. So true. B, if he spends £20, he will have £35 left. Okay, so if he starts with £15 and spends £20, we know he's spent more than he's got to start with. So he wouldn't be ending up with a positive amount left, definitely not more than he had to start with, okay? So this mistake that's happened here is we've added on the 20 rather than subtracted it, okay? So this one's false, and the actual answer would have been he would have ended up with -£5, okay? C, if he spends £30 but gains £10, he will have £5 left. Okay, so I'm going to check that one. So he starts with £15. He spends £30. Okay, so to jump to the 0, we're subtracting 15. Ooh. And then because he spent £30, we've got another £15 to take off, so he would end up with -£15. Okay, so we've taken away the whole 50. And then the second part of the question says he gains £10. Okay, so gains, he adds £10 back on. Okay, so -15, add the 10 back on, wouldn't take you up to 0 because we'd have to add £15 back on to get us back to 0. Okay, so we know if we added £10 back onto -15, we'd actually get to -5, not +5. So this one is false again. He would have -£5 left. Okay. And D, if he spends £19.50 on one item and £13 on another, he will have £17.50 left. Okay, so we started with £15, he spent £19.50 on something and then £13 on something else. Okay, so in total, how much has he spent? How would I work that out? I'd add these two numbers together. So £19.50 add 13, okay. I'm going to do that in my head. So 10 add 10 is 20, 9 add 3 is 12, so 20 add 12 is 32, and we've got the 50p. So he spent £32.50 in total. Okay, so he started with £15 and he spent £32.50 in total. So would he have any money left? No, okay, because he spent more than he had to start with. So that would be false again. Okay, and let's work out what he would have ended up with if he spent that. So he started with 15. And he spent £32.50, so jump 15 to get to the zero even. So he'd have £17.50 left to subtract from that zero. So he would have actually ended up with minus £17.50, not positive £17.50. Okay, negative £17.50. Okay, and then the second part of the last part of the question was create a true or false question of your own. Okay, well done if you came up with some of these. See if you can test somebody in your household with these questions. Make sure you prepare your answers before you test them so you can give them feedback on their work. Okay, right, I'm going to stop my share. Thank you for joining in with all of these sessions. I hope you found them useful. Okay, make sure you keep practicing at home and keep yourself busy. Bye.